Welcome to Headlines and Headaches. Just a moment before we get started here, you're listening to a new Cody Meyer creation, and it's called Jam Out, and it's not bad. I just wanted to play here. We always try to start out with something with Cody. Cody works with me at the Owatonna Country Club in the kitchen, and he's a beat master, and so we try to start every podcast with something from a good friend, Cody Meyer, a.k.a. Frog Z. That's capital letters, F-R-O-G-G-Z. You can find him on Spotify, YouTube. Check him out. He's got some great beats out there. And if you're looking for a beat, just go to Facebook and find Frog Z and send him a message, and he'll work with you on it. So, anyway. So there you go. It's called Jam Out, and that's how we're going to start this version of our Headlines and Headaches. And we're going to get to our mayor from Owatonna, Minnesota, Matt Jessop, in just a moment. But I'm going to kind of go down some headlines just to kind of get the juices flowing here. And I'm going to admit that between the news agencies of 1440 and Alpha News and some of the others, I take a look at their headlines, and I invite you all to go to any of those news outlets. I guess I kind of really have kind of been focusing on Alpha News. I like Liz Collins and the factual reporting that we get there. But here are some headlines. Lawmakers, imagine this. I know it's not going to come to any surprise for many of us. GOP lawmakers say Governor Walz's anti-fraud plans need more teeth in them. That's a headline. Let's see. Minnesota Teacher of the Year finalist withdraws after an Alpha News inquiry into some explicit public photos. I don't know if you've seen those photos or not, but they're quite interesting. He's standing there bare-chested with some leather straps and stuff. Anyway, here's one that maybe we can get into with our guest today. Chamber of Commerce warns that climate superfund bill could add big costs to Minnesota families. Let's see. And then our tip of the iceberg, says Kristen, Representative Christian, about the systemic failures fueling Minnesota fraud. And let's see, this was an interesting story. If you haven't, look it up. Group files federal lawsuit against New Richmond District for allowing boys in girls' bathrooms. All right. I understand the new documentary is coming out, Minnesota Now. That's an Alpha News documentary, and it looks like it's going to be a good one. And finally, the headlines that we've all been waiting for, because we know what the outcome was going to be. Minnesota House impeachment push against Walz and Ellison stalls in an 8-8 committee deadlock. Those are some of the headlines that are out there. Again, I like to promote Alpha News and 1440 out there. I feel, and I've done a lot of research, I feel like they're very factual, and they're not into opinions unless they do a commentary like what's coming up. Our guest today, Matt Jessop, Mayor of the city of Owatonna, our neighbor to our east, where Larry and I are from, Waseca. And this is exciting because there's many people that go back and forth, that work in Owatonna and drive back to Waseca at the end of the night, drive there in the morning, drive back. I, for one, have found that Owatonna has become more of our destination for buying things rather than running over to the Mankato area. So let me quickly ask our mayor to give us a little insight about who he is and where he's from. Matt?
Right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be on here with you. So, as you said, I am fortunate enough to be mayor of the great city of Owatonna, quote Tom Coons. Um, I was inaugurated on January 7th of 2025. I had never run for any political office before, and I have no desire to run for anything else.
It's been that wonderful so far, huh, Mayor?
Truly, it's been great. I really enjoyed it. I love every second of it. And that's not to say that there aren't challenges. Certainly there are challenges, but it's what you sign up for. It's not all shaking hands and kissing babies and people clapping for you when you make a speech. There are bumps in the road. Things happen. There are challenges. They are hard times, but you make the best of the hard times. You make the right decisions, and you trust that you're doing the right thing.
All
So,
right.
I lived in Owatonna for 44 of my 54 years. We lived here when I was a kid, moved away for 10 years to a small farm town of 300 people called Stoughton, Minnesota. And my parents owned a weekly newspaper there. My dad had previously worked at the People's Press. So that we lived there for 10 years. They owned and operated that, and then moved back here in 86, and I've been here ever since. I was one of those kids that swore, I'm going to get out of this town and I'm never coming back. Well, shoot, here I am 36 years later, the mayor of the town. So,
Yeah, that's a sounds like a familiar story. I had very similar runnings, Matt. Like
uh,
we moved back to from California actually to
oh, holy
Wasika, and
cow.
I could not wait to get out of here, and yet hey, here we are all these years
Yep.
later. There's something about this area, and I want to echo something that Mike said. I see Owatonna over the last 20 years kind of becoming a little bit of a hub, like he
Right.
said. And
Yep.
what do you attribute that to? I mean, you've been there for some of that growth as well. Used to be Faribault and Owatonna were fairly equitable in size, but man, over the last decade, Otona's really shot off.
We really have, and it's been a lot of very careful planning on the part of city leaders, city administration, but also corporate leaders here as well. We're very fortunate in Owatonna to have a great blue collar base. Blue collar, the factories, that was the source of Owatonna's wealth and strength for a long time. And then obviously with Federated Insurance here, employing just shy of 1,300 people in town as our largest employer. It just everybody works together toward a common goal. And you're right, Larry, over the last 20 years, you've really seen Owatonna being built up as more of a regional hub. And again, that's a very intentional thing. And over the last 5 years now, with the redevelopment of our downtown area, which we take great pride in, um, and just the areas outlying that, and more apartments going up, businesses coming here, new businesses starting. We have a new retail incubator that's going to be getting off the ground here in the next month or so, to encourage entrepreneurs working with the Business Development Center in the Chamber of Commerce. If somebody has an idea, they can go there to this retail incubator, be there for a year, get those skills and the knowledge they need in order to start their own business in a brick and mortar, and then at a year, they're out of the nest and you're on your own.
Ah, that's fantastic, and what a great opportunity, like you said, for guys to dip their toes into the water into something and see if they
Yep.
can grow it into something better. And
Yes.
and you hit on a really key point is that Otana has a lot more manufacturing than people think.
Right.
Some industry, which is an oddity in a country that doesn't build a lot of things anymore. There's a lot of
Oh,
manufacturing there.
absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, it's the manufacturing. That's what Owatonna was built on. Jostin started out in Owatonna. Viracon, Wenger, just acquired another business down in Texas. All these companies that we have here, some of those homegrown ones are continuing to grow and grow and grow. Some have been bought off by large national or multinational entities, but for the most part, they are all going very strong yet. And it's that blue collar identity is really, um, Owatonna is really steeped in that identity, and that's
I
still at at our heart, that's who we are.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really interested in that downtown redevelopment because I owned a building downtown at one point. I used to own the Malm Jewelry building for a short while. I had a pawn
Okay.
shop in there for just a short while, and we had trouble with one of the business partners. Long story, not going to get into it. But we loved being downtown. We loved the energy. The chamber was very welcoming. The community in general, it's a very business friendly environment. What you guys have overtaken though the last couple of years with the addition of the hotel and the restaurant, how's that? What impact are you seeing, and what are the next phases? What's next for the downtown?
But when I think about downtown Owatonna, say when I was growing up, when I was in high school, I- it, it was a neat place to go and hang out on Friday night. You go and cruise Main on Friday night or on Saturday night.
I
It
remember.
was fun. But but truth be told, you know, 6, 7 years ago, there was nothing special about downtown Owatonna. There
Yeah.
really wasn't. It was not unique by any means. But you know, business leaders, city leaders got together and developed this plan to redo this downtown. Um, and once the streetscape was starting to be redone, that's when people really started to get excited. We saw some existing businesses decide that they were going to be a part of downtown, new businesses starting up. And we've lost some of those over the years, but that excitement is still there. Um, once Tories came downtown from their original location, that was a big thing. We finally had a restaurant, a real restaurant in downtown.
Yeah.
That's not to slight the kitchen or to slight Wags. They're both great at what they do, but Tories brought something different.
Yeah, it's a
And something
destination, isn't it?
right, something that was sorely needed. So with the addition of Tories, and then once the deal was struck for the Marriott to be built, yeah, it just things really went into motion. And I've told people since the time that streetscape was being redone, and it wasn't just a line. People would talk about, complain about parking or tell how long this construction was taking. I said, yeah, but you know what? Imagine what it's going to be like once it's done. This is a really exciting time to be in downtown Owatonna. I
Yeah.
believed it. I believe it now.
Well, and you've seen some growth just off the downtown now. We've seen where Mineral Springs has moved. There's some large development going on there. What else is happening in that area?
So yeah, with when Mineral Springs Brewing moved from their original location into the new Ascend One development, so there's 69 apartments there. Olmsted Medical has 25,000 square feet right on the ground level, and then MSB down below in their space. MSB got 3 times the space that they had before, and it's so nice. It is just fabulous. Those guys work really hard. All 3 of those investors have day jobs at Federated, and then at least one of them is there every single night.
Wow.
They get it. They understand it. They know that personal connection, and them sitting down and talking with you. It's like, and they get up and walk away to go to the next table. And Bill was just at our table. I said, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Bill's like a little fly all over the place, isn't he?
Heavens, yes. But that just speaks to the kind of people that we have down here. And it just, like I said, that Ascend 1 being finished and Olmsted Medical opening up, now Ascend 2, a smaller phase of the same development is underway. The buildings that were in the space where this new building is going to go up have been demolished, and they're working on getting everything ready to start construction on the second phase.
That's
Fantastic.
fantastic. Yeah.
It really is. It is truly an exciting time to be here.
So I've got to ask you, Matt. I'm really interested in the makeup and the working relationship between you as mayor, the city council, your economic development, and the chamber. I mean, for years, and Larry knows this, for years, back in the day when I was on the council, my biggest push was to get an active community development director and organization that would be like, if we heard a rumor that somebody was looking for something, we would actively put together a package or a program which include everything from land, tax incentives, banking proposal, the whole package.
Right.
And I feel like there's such a positiveness with the folks that I've seen. Tell us a little bit, how does this makeup work, and how does it continue to work?
It's and that speaks to when Larry referred to the change that you've really seen in Owatonna over the last 20 years. Again, it was a very intentional thing, and it came from the top down. Council and mayor really pushed staff, city administration, and helped to guide those relationships. It's this thing is knowing that this thing is not going to work if we're not working together. The chamber wants what's best for business in Owatonna. The city wants what's best for business in Owatonna, and the business owners obviously want what's best for business. So without working together and without that cooperative relationship working hand in hand, this thing doesn't happen. Our community development director, has been with the city of Owatonna for 30 years, and he's an Owatonna kid.
Uh-huh.
And so he's got a lot invested in this, and Troy is really, really, really good at what he does.
Nice.
He uses TIF very creatively, and that's what has brought a lot of this development and these businesses that we have here now.
Oh, that's great. So I've got to ask this because I'm hearing a bit coming out of the Owatonna market now about police and fire in their buildings, and the fact that there are people that feel like maybe the amount of dollars, which I don't know, I guess I've heard upwards of $60+ million to get your police and fire into facilities that are current in today's standard, whether it be from the infrastructure to the technology side. How are you moving forward on this? I guess that's the question, with the pushback that you're getting from a group of citizens.
Well, in the end, if we don't believe in the mission, then it's not going to go anywhere. But council, myself, city administration, we all believe that this is the right thing. We believe in what we're doing. Let's talk about our fire hall first off. Fire is in a building that was built in 1906, back when Owatonna was around 5,500 people. We're pushing 28,000. They don't have the facilities that they need, plain and simple. They don't even have a decontamination area when they come back from calls.
Oh, geez.
So when they come back from a call, fighting a fire, they're covered in carcinogens. They don't have the opportunity to decontaminate on site. And then all their clothing, even if they do get them decontaminated, all their coats, everything is hanging right in the garages. So when the trucks are running, they're just collecting more and more stuff. And private rooms, shower facilities, just some of those very simple things. There's not room to grow in this spot. It's completely landlocked.
Yeah.
And so it's really, really neat, sorely needed. And the council, mayor, city administrator, we're not making this stuff up. Nate Dotson, who's on the city council, made a great point yesterday. We had a financial management meeting, and he made the point that we're taking direction from fire and from police. They're telling us what they need. We're telling the design engineers these are the things that they say that they need. And here's basically what we're working with. Now, is that a hard estimate? That we're at about 61.5 million for two separate facilities. Mm-hmm. It could come in lower, but with council passing that bonding 65 up to $65 million, it gives a little bit of wiggle room based on that $61.5 million number.
Yeah.
So again, they need new homes. Police is currently in a building that was built as a bank. in 1968.
Mhm.
When you walk into the main part of the police building, that's where the bank drive-through was. So
Mhm.
when
Yeah.
police went in, they had to make that into an enclosure.
Hmm.
And there's no good way to do this. They don't have holding facilities. They don't have room for training. Their training is in an old vault in the basement.
Oh, geez.
Same
Wow.
things. They don't have decontamination. Um, they don't have private areas to interview victims or interview people that are arrested. And if they bring somebody in, or somebody comes in to make a report, and they've been traumatized somehow by crime, whether it's assault or whatever it might be, that person has to sit in the lobby, wait for somebody to respond. Then they're brought back to that same area where the perps are walked through when they're arrested.
Mm. Yeah, not ideal.
No, it absolutely is not. The way that they handle the cars being parked outside right now, when officers get to the police station, they have to take their computers, shut them down, bring them inside, fire them back up. Now, if they get a call, they need those computers with as well. So they have to get back out to the cars, hook them up, wait for the computers to fire up, type in the address to where they need to be, and you're losing crucial time. So a big part of what Chief Mundale was looking for in a new police facility is underground parking, so they can leave these computers in the cars, and they don't have to have them running all the time as well.
Hmm.
And,
So,
and again, it's not, we're not looking for a Taj Mahal. We're
yeah.
not. We're looking for the basics that police and fire say that they need. And it's
Yeah,
it's it's a challenge. It's hard.
we ran into something pretty similar over here in Wasika, Matt, and it is tough because you're trying to balance fiscal responsibility with the taxpayers being upset with seeing like, hey, you're spending X amount of dollars on this, and we ended up doing everything in one facility over here. It made sense for us. Is that something that the city's looked at all?
Absolutely. We looked at, I think it was 14 different sites around town. And it was especially critical with fire that they be centrally located. It just adds to
Yeah, for
response
timing and
time.
everything.
Right. And the initial plan was to build one joint facility. And what we looked at was the location of the current police station,
Oh,
and to
yep.
do something there. We couldn't do that without buying up, I think it was 18 homes.
Mm.
Okay.
Um, so you're looking at a huge price tag added on to
Yeah.
what it would take to build these facilities already.
Yeah, so not just building, but acquisition as well, which yeah adds
Right.
to the bill.
Right. So the ideal situation would have been, obviously, if we had the means to do it that way.
Hmm.
But there's not a big enough footprint to do both facilities in one spot, which is why we ended up splitting the two. And so now the new police or new fire facility will be where the current police is. And then police will be built up at West Hills on the government campus.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's always tough coming up with these solutions, and you're never going to appease everybody. Mike and I have
Oh,
sat in
absolutely
that
not.
same position, and it's not an enviable spot to be. But the fact of the matter is, and Mike was in law enforcement back in the day, and he can tell you, hey, things have changed, right? Like we've got upgrades in technology. The vehicles are a little bit bigger. There's some different things now that police are asked to do by society that they weren't asked in the past. Safe transfer of children when you've got
Right.
disputing sides, and like you said, places to interview. That was all stuff we saw here in Wasika when we were looking at moving our fire and our police from where they were to that current big spot we've got now, and it seems to have worked for us.
But
I'm sure it'll work for Owatonna. It's just, yeah, the dollar amount. People always get upset about that, but it's like, man, what do you do? You gotta weigh the pros and the cons. You got public safety. It's an unenviable position.
it is a hard thing, and I'm not going to lie about it. But we all want, whether you are on the side of that's too much money, or you're on the side of this is what we need, or you're somewhere in the middle. In the end, we all want what's best. We do. I get that. When people look at that bonding request, $65 million, that's a lot of money. Nobody's denying that. There's no denying 65 million is a lot of money. And you know what? Some people, if their property taxes go up $300 a year, to them, that's a lot of money. It's
Mhm.
real money. It is, plain and simple. And
Yeah.
there's no denying that. And the people that were concerned about it, that got signatures on the petition, you know, they were able to get a reverse referendum in place. And you know what? It's direct democracy. It's democracy in action. I can't be
Yeah.
mad about it.
So Matt, let me ask you this: what part did businesses have in your decisions on the bonding? I mean, I'm talking to businesses like the Federateds of the world, the Owatonna shoe companies, the big to small. Were they ever uh, involved in this kind of planning and looking forward?
To my knowledge, there wasn't any additional, I don't know what word I want to use, but pressure put on businesses. Anything special, additional done with businesses that were done, than was done with individual taxpayers. We've tried to have conversations. We inform everybody as much as we can in as many possible venues as we can. Um, and I'm there have been conversations with small business, large business owners, managers, CEOs, what have you. But there's not one entity, individual or corporate, that has had any more influence, undue or not,
Hmm.
over this whole process.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough topics to get into, and anytime you're asking the taxpayers for money, that's always a tough call.
Well,
But man, it, it's I always liken it to when I was young, my old man told me to eat my broccoli. I didn't want to eat broccoli, but it had some iron and it had some vitamins in it, and sometimes you got to eat it and good and trust that good things are going to happen. And I think the fact of the matter is that, hey, people, sometimes you got to trust your elected officials to be good stewards of the community, but that's why we have the voting cycles, right? Like that's and and
Precisely.
and folks can speak up whenever they want. I've always appreciated our democracy. I've run for office and won
Yeah.
sometimes I lost, and I've always respected the voters' decision. It's like, hey,
Right.
if I couldn't convince them, it was incumbent on me, right? Like
Well, yeah, exactly. And like I said, in the end, with this reverse referendum, it's democracy in action. Like, it is direct democracy, and you know, however it turns out, that's how it turns out. But it's people using their voices. They have the
yeah,
right to do this, and you know what? I respect the hell out of that. I
yeah.
really, truly do. I may not disagree. I may not agree with the way that they're doing it. I may disagree with the message that some of them are using,
Yeah,
but they're saying the same thing about us. So.
yeah.
So,
Oh,
Matt,
absolutely.
let me ask you this: how has any of the situations with the fraud happening in the state of Minnesota had any effect on Owatonna with any of their kind of dealings with the state or with the programs that have obviously come forth with the fraud involved?
Yeah. In the end, we feel the impact like everybody else does. The city does. It's loss of funding because money is gone.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So things get tight. There are cuts on the federal level. There are cuts on the state level, and nobody wants to see money abused, misused, stolen. I want my money. I want it to be invested wisely. Giving and what happened with all this fraud, no, nobody should be happy about it.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
I mean, it was such an awful situation. It was such an awful situation, and there was a lack of oversight. There just was, and there's no denying that. It could have and should have been handled much, much better. But like I said, we feel it just like everybody else does. It's like
Yeah.
inflation and prices going up. You know, when prices go up for you at the grocery store, or prices go up when you're buying a car, well, we feel the same thing. The city feels the same thing. all of our prices go up just like everybody else's do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and I think you guys have done a good job of trying to increase the size of the pie. When Mike and I were on the council over here, we always talked about increasing the size of the pie to reduce the amount of stuff going on for the taxpayers, right?
Right.
Um,
Oh,
so
absolutely.
so that's something that's always important to do.
Yeah, we lost you there for a minute, Larry. I
Oh,
thought,
oh,
yeah, there you are. You're
oh,
back.
there we go.
We heard you. We just couldn't see you.
Oh, yep. New office, new internet. Sorry, trying to read my phone here with these stupid bifocals there. So
Aren't they fun?
they are not. They are not, man. I went into the optometrist and he said I was going to have them. I said, well, those are for old guys. And he said, well, I got news for you.
Well,
Hey, let me tell
when
you.
I got mine, the optometrist kept calling them progressives. I said, okay, well, I'm glad I wasn't, or this isn't 10 years ago. They'd be bifocals. Now I feel a lot
Yes.
better.
Yeah. I just wear cheaters now. I had the ultimate cataract surgery, so now I wear cheaters. Otherwise, I don't wear anything. Well, I don't wear any glasses. Put it that way. Okay.
Good for you.
All right. Okay. Let's see. You got anything else, Larry? You want to ask?
Um, I had a question written down here, and I don't know where I put my note. A sec.
New office fatigue you're having already.
Yeah, I've been placing things. Matt, something I like to do is a little something I call a time machine, and I used to sit down, and when I was on the council, I always kind of envisioned like, hey, what did I want the city to look like 5 years, 10 years, or whatever from now? Have you ever, do you have um, 5 years from now? In a perfect situation, things go the way you want them to go. What does the city look like in your eyes?
It's funny you bring that up because of about 3 weeks ago, almost a month ago, we did a city council retreat with council, myself, and city administrator and assistant administrator, and that's precisely one of the things that we talked about. 5 years from now, what does Owatonna look like? And the number one thing for us was the number one thing for us right now is, we have fire and police finished. We've done what we can to take care of our public safety. It is so important. It's one of those core things. The three things. When you flush the toilet, you want to see that the toilet flushes. When you call because there's a fire, you want the firefighters to show up. If something happens and you need the police, you want the police to show up.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to do, number one, what we can to address the needs of fire and police. We have to take care of our public safety. We do. They do the jobs that none of us want to do, and I respect the hell out of them for what they do every single day. So getting that finished is number one. Another one of the big ones for us was walking down Cedar Avenue and seeing all those storefronts filled. The business is filled, and when I think back to, and I thought of this earlier, but got sidetracked. When I think about downtown Owatonna, and you had mentioned this earlier, Larry, when I was growing up, when I was in high school, and you'd go downtown, you're cruising, me, even 10 years ago, I never ever would have imagined any single event in downtown Owatonna that would draw 4,000 people. We do that at least 4 times a year now.
Yeah.
With our downtown Thursday events. They're fabulous. So keeping that momentum going, basically from a certain point of view, just not screwing it up.
Yeah.
Things are going well, just kind of stay out of the way and encourage it instead of trying to direct it, because people are doing pretty darn well figuring it out. Seeing further development on the Ascenda project, and it'll be phase 2 and then into phase 3, I believe, over the next few years. But that continued, consistent, positive growth is really what we're after. We're bringing new businesses in. Things were really slow on the housing front last year for Owatonna, so we would like to see more homes being built. We're doing great with apartments, and we have some very nice apartment buildings, but um, and it's not unique to Owatonna by any means. You know, housing across the country, home building across the country is very slow right now.
Yeah.
But we're doing what we can to encourage home building. In fact, Troy, our city development, just signed, was it about 6 months ago, finalized a deal to have 140 house development on the northeast side of town. So
Oh, nice.
Okay.
it's all positive stuff. It's all really, really positive stuff. And again, it doesn't come without challenges, but the challenges help us better. They make us smarter. They make us stronger as long as we do it right.
Nice. Nice.
Nice. I like it. I like it. So, I have to ask this question.
Go on.
It's, I shot it to Larry and I thought maybe he might, but I've got to be the one to ask it because I'm always the instigator here. Across the state of Minnesota, you're seeing city after city replacing the current Minnesota state flag in their council chambers, in their city halls, with the old Minnesota flag.
Yep.
Has there been any discussion in Owatonna about that?
Truly no, and it's kind of funny actually that you mentioned that. So outside of City Hall, we have the new one.
Mm-hmm.
In the council chambers, we have the old one.
Ah,
Oh, interesting.
interesting.
Best of both worlds.
I'm can't open a can of worms here or anything.
You can look at it as catering or pandering to one side or the other.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
It's a fun question to ask because you get when I'm talking to people out in public, man, you get really strong opinions on both sides of that issue, and it's a fun one to ask and discuss with people, and I enjoy listening to their responses on that.
Well, we kind of went through a miniature version of that ourselves over the last few years with the rebranding that Owatonna did, starting about 4 years ago. And the new emblem, the new logo,
Mm-hmm.
and that's starting to replace the old one on all city vehicles and things like that. And, just as some of the guys that were on council have the old logo on their badges. I have the new one on mine. So, and some people love it, some people hate it. But
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you could even say that it started way back when the school decided to switch from the Indians to the Huskies. That
Right.
was
Well,
where some of that thinking started to come into play in the state in general. That hey, do we need to be more sensitive to these types of issues? And you saw a lot of stuff happening, not just in Owatonna, but other schools. But just because Owatonna was so close, I remember that pretty vividly happening there.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it was 93 or 94 they made the switch here?
Yeah, early 90s it would have been. That sounds about correct.
Yeah. All right, folks, we're getting close to the end here. I want to offer the mayor some final comments about Owatonna that you want to give our viewers.
But you know what? It's like Larry referred to right as we started. Owatonna over the last couple decades has really become a regional hub, and we're very, very excited about the things that have happened here. We're really, really excited about the future. With our new police and fire, it's just another step in the right direction. We have plans in the works for a new community center. In fact, I'm going to be testifying to the House Tax Committee to get permission to put local option sales tax on the ballot to fund that. It's an exciting time. 10 years ago, it was an exciting time to be in Owatonna. Right now, it's a really exciting time to be in Owatonna. It really, truly is.
Wonderful. Hey, one last question. I've got to ask one last question.
I got all kinds of time.
How is it now that you've gotten rid of Tom Brick? Folks, this goes back. Tom Brick is a good friend. He has put shoes on my feet for I don't know how many years. at Owatonna Shoe Company. And yes, I'm going to give this plug because now that belongs to Matt and his brother. And I was just in there the other day, Larry, because my feet were kind of hurting. And I said, Matt, you put me in some great shoes, but for some reason my feet are feeling this way. And he says, oh, gosh, Mike, you need a shoe that doesn't have as much arch in it because this and that and this and that. And of course, I'm like a deer in the headlights, right? I'm looking at them and I'm shaking my head. Yeah, okay, that's what I want. You put me in the shoes. They are absolutely fantastic. I love them. But
Nice.
yeah, okay. Tell me about Tom Brick. Do you ever see him anymore?
You know, we really don't. We really don't. You know, Tom worked at that store. Tom ran that store for 54 years.
Wow.
Oh boy. Wow.
And
What a legacy.
He worked really, really hard to build one of the best businesses in downtown Owatonna. He worked his tail off. And he is, I have zero doubt, he is probably the best businessman that I know.
Yeah.
Nice.
His brain and his mind when it comes to figures and being able to just put things together is absolutely incredible. That he taught my brother and me so much about the business. And you know, for what we're seeing now, what we're doing now, what we have learned over the last 13-ish years, you can't put a number on that. You can't put a value on it.
Yeah.
So, you know, we approached him in 2014 with the idea of buying the store, and it took until the end of 2025 to get there.
Yep.
But it worked out really, really well. And you know, we're grateful to Tom for trusting us with his family, with his legacy and his family's legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And we intend and we try to do it justice every single day.
All right. Okay. Well, great. Wow, this has been fun. I knew it would be. Our guest today has been the mayor of the city of Owatonna, Matt Jessop. Matt, thank you very much for joining us here on Headlines and Headaches. You bet. We'll check in with you down the road again and see how the progress is going with the city of Owatonna. All right? All right, thank you very much. On behalf of my cohort, Larry Johnson, I'm Mike Berry. Thanks for joining us as we listen to Cody Meyer, the Frog Z Beatmaster. Yeah, he's quite the guy. I need say no more. Until we meet again, be the one.